Hello, Miami. This is 305 Sports Now, your home podcast for all things Miami sports related. I am Will, and this is a video podcast that is just YouTube exclusive. I know what the title says. It says 305 Sports Now, bonus interviews, but I feel at times it is important to do a just quick analysis on the current events of the day in the world of Miami sports. I also feel it's important to give every one of you, each and one of you, some important content every so often, and there's a lot of important information going on here, and I really want to cover the Miami Hurricanes because as of late, the Miami Hurricanes under head coach Mario Cristobal have been on a recruiting roll where they have just been absolutely dominating the college football scene in terms of recruitment. Okay, but before I start, I have to quote former head coach Manny Diaz, in which Manny Diaz did say that the cupboard was not bare. Basically, that he left Coach Cristobal with some essentials to play with in terms of having a successful season. So basically, the groundwork, the roots have been laid, and it's up to Coach Cristobal to maintain, that talent role that has been coming in or make it better, to say the least. Right. So, and he's not wrong, right? Coach Diaz had the luxury of having what is to be this year a Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke. He has had a blessings of riches when it comes to the running back core. All right, for this past season. Okay, guys like Jalen Knight. Jalen Knight had a pretty good season, missing the first 6 games due to basically violating team policies in terms of conduct. All right, but you have Thaddeus Franklin, you have Don Chaney Jr. as well that stayed within the era of Manny Diaz, transferring over to the era of Mario Cristobal. And of course, you have the receivers. Listen, I don't care what the spring game, what happened to spring game in general, that the receivers didn't live up to the full potential. Last season, in a 13 game span and so on, the Miami Hurricanes proved in general that they did have a pretty good receiving core. Now there is to be seen because TVD's 2 best targets of Mike Harley and Charleston Rambo have gone to the NFL. So we'll see who steps up, whether it's Keyshawn Smith, whether it's Romello Brinson, okay, whether it's this year Frank Ladson, who's a transfer portal pickup, all right, or whether it's Brashard Smith as well, decides to pick up a lot of the slack that was left over by Mike Harley, who ended up leading the Canes in receptions for his career, all right, all throughout history, and Charleston Rambo, that was a dynamite pickup, in the transfer portal for Coach Diaz. All right, so let's start a little bit, as well in terms of the defensive side of the ball. We've mentioned the running backs, okay? Now, on the defensive side of the ball, you have, James Williams, a 5-star recruit of American Heritage. You have Avante Williams, and you have guys like Cam Kitchens. Let's not forget Takar Couch as well, some very talented players. And at the end position, you have Leonard Taylor, who was, whenever he was in the football game last season, was an absolute person to be reckoned with, okay? And then, of course, you have who I think, if given opportunity, could be one heck of a pass rusher in Chance Williams. All right, so let's get that on a roll. But yeah, now let's focus more on Coach Cristobal, right? Because Coach Cristobal, it's called the Cristobal effect for a reason. The title of this video podcast, because Coach Cristobal has been absolutely on a roll. Okay, a former recruiter of the year when he was assistant coach at Alabama. A top 10 recruiter when he was coaching out at Oregon. This is a guy that when he was head coach at FIU, got a guy like T.Y. Hilton to commit, all right, to Florida International University. So the guy is a workhorse, all right? And when it comes to the acquisition of talent, okay, Mario Cristobal is one of the best in the country, if not proving himself the best in the country, okay? So, for example, when rumors that Manny Diaz was going to be fired, all right, last season, I think the Miami Hurricanes were a 71st ranked recruiting class in the country. They came 67th. By the time Mario Cristobal took over, in a short time span before he could sign all the guys he needs and so on, and with the transfer portal pickups that he picked up and so on as well, we ended up with a top 14 class. All right. We went from 67 in the month of December, okay, to 14 and by the end of February. Okay. So Mario Cristobal pretty much picked up heavy duty numbers and so on and so forth as time went on in general. And guys that he picked up were Najee Kelly, okay, not expected to come here, but Mario Cristobal was able to close that deal for the talented pass rusher. All right, Jaleel Skinner, who was slated to go to Alabama, one of the top tight ends in the country, flips his commitment and comes over to the U. And let's not forget Cyrus Moss. Okay, let's not forget Cyrus Moss, the talented pass rusher out of Las Vegas. Okay, as well. Okay, was a teammate of Brevin Jordan. Okay, as well. Okay, and then you have, but this guy was a holdover from the Diaz era. Was Wesley Bassane, right? Wesley Bassane, the talented middle linebacker out of Central High School, as well. So the Miami Hurricanes have been absolutely on a tear. Okay, with Mario Cristobal. Okay, so pretty much we finished the top the 22 class in style. Okay, and Cyrus Moss had a really good spring game. Okay, as he was able to get 3 sacks, against the Miami Hurricane offense. Okay, so that's what pretty much we have in terms of the 22 class. The 23 class has been an absolute phenomenon. All right, Miami at the moment, according to 247 Sports, is ranked 10th in the country, all right, in recruiting. 10th in the country in recruiting, all right? In some other rankings, they're ranked 8th, right? So they have a top 8 recruiting class amongst the studs picked up by Mario Cristobal. And by the way, some of these guys have been within a week, have come in. No more than 2 weeks have come in. They have just filled, all right, a roster, for the 2023 class. In general, you have guys like pretty much 5-star defensive end from IMG. Okay, you have Jaden Wayne, a stud defensive end. Supposedly his star drops once he committed to Miami. I found it to be odd. I still classify him as a 5-star recruit. Okay, you have Francis Mauigoa, right, the 5-star recruit out of IMG as well. You have 4-star talented recruit Riley Williams, who's an absolute stud. All right, Riley Williams draws comparisons, in my opinion, to a guy like Jeremy Shockey, as Riley Williams is 6'6", 230 pounds. Okay, national ranking as a tight end, he's 66. I'm sorry, national ranking as a player, he's 66, but he's the number 2 best tight end in the country, 15th best player of the state. Okay, you can line him up, pretty much, alongside a tackle, or you can line him up in on the slot, or you can line him up outside in general as a wide receiver. So a good guy to have in general if in red zone situations. Him and Jaleel Skinner are going to make a great pairing, right, to say the least, as well. Miami also picked up the 7th best quarterback in the country in Jaden Rashada, according to statistics. Dual threat quarterback, very good pocket passer, very precise, in his passes in general, has a very good arm as well. Does Jaden Rashada, as well. We can't take that away from him either. Right, but I do believe as far as steals go in this recruiting class, I do believe the steal will be the 3-star quarterback out of Milton, Florida, will be Emory Williams. Emory Williams is a pure pocket passer, has earned a bit of praise, in general because of his arm strength, right? His arm strength and his precise arm strength as well in delivering the deep ball. Okay, so that's something that has caused a lot of attention to scouts. Not looked at early on. He has this year as a senior to prove himself, whether he deserves an extra starter's rank. And mind you, stars are nothing. Okay, TVD, I think, was a 3-star recruit, but he was the number 1 player out of Connecticut. All right, so stars don't mean anything. Okay, Ed Reed was considered a prospect. All right, coming out of Louisiana. All right, and he's in the Hall of Fame. Right, so you can't take that. You can't take stars sometimes. As gospel. The reason being is because stars in many cases are. You have to look at competition. You have to look at, intangibles and stuff like that and so on. Sometimes stars do not transition, into college football. Look, Tate Martell was a 5-star recruit, and I personally thought he sucked. Okay, to be honest with you, he wasn't a very good college football quarterback. All right, I think Tyler Van Dyke is, although Martell is incredibly athletic. All right, I do believe as far as being a passer goes, Tyler Van Dyke is a much better passer. Okay, than Tate Martell. Hell, Brad Kyle couldn't run to save his life. Is a much better passer than Tate Martell. But yeah, Tate Martell was a highly regarded quarterback coming out of Bishop Gorman over in Las Vegas. Okay, but bottom line is the Miami Hurricanes in general have really done really well this recruiting cycle, and these commitments I feel they will stick, and they might even pick up some guys that decommitted. A guy like Andy Jean, out of Northwestern. There's rumors that he might be giving Miami a second look. I guess he wanted to open up his options and see where else he could go. But with Josh Gaddis as offensive coordinator, the receiving core that they have, the quarterbacks that they're recruiting, as well, coming out of this 2023 class, I do think that a guy like Gene, a guy like Amar Seymour in general could benefit from having those kind of quarterbacks. Listen, It's like I've told you guys in the past. Okay, a lot of fans were afraid that if Mario Cristobal was to come in, will be too much of a run-heavy offense and yet not be able to utilize these receivers, these very talented receivers that we have, to their full potential. But bar none, okay, to remember, many of the Miami Hurricane teams that won national championships, the 5 national championships, were balanced offenses and very physical offensive lines. All right. The 91 Canes that won a national championship, very physical offensive line. Okay. And very talented at the tailback position with guys like Stephen McGuire. All right. As well. Okay. And had a really good receiving core. Also very well defensively as well. They played. Okay. So let's not freak out because, Marcus will run. No. It's going to be a very balanced offense. It's going to be fun to watch because we have the horses as receivers. We have the horses at tight ends. We have the horses at running back. All right. That we cannot ignore. Okay. So that's something to really, really, really think about. One thing I do also like about Coach Cristobal is that he's kept that Samoan pipeline open, right? With Joe Salavea and so on being the defensive line coach as well, having those players at the, when he was coaching on the Pacific, I'm referring now to Coach Cristobal, he still has that network of guys, that would like to come in and play for the Hurricanes. The Samoans football players have a tendency of being naturally big and incredibly strong and very ferocious in the trenches. And that's what Miami needs, all right, in terms of they want to establish a much stronger running game. They need those big, nasty, corn-fed individuals, those big Samoan guys, those big guys, from the Midwest, and in some cases here in North Florida that can smash, all right, could smash open holes and literally surrender their lives for the quarterback and also for their tailbacks and other players as well. So that's one thing, all right, that Coach Cristobal really emphasizes in. He wants a physically nasty offensive line, and I think he's gonna get one because of the fact that he's recruiting the right players that fit his style and his brand. All right, so I want to also continue about another thing that's been rumored, okay, as far as the future of the Miami Hurricanes. We all know that the ACC is gonna drop the conference play, and we're gonna get a rotating effect of teams like Clemson and Wake Forest and Louisville, and NC State, being part of our ACC rotation. Florida State isn't going anywhere. That's a natural rivalry for the Canes, all right, and that the ACC just totally loves. Okay, and it also brings a lot of money in terms of eyeballs to television sets. No matter how bad both teams are, okay, they always manage to end up on ABC or at a good time slot on ESPN. Okay, so Miami, Florida State is not going anywhere, despite the fact that they're getting rid of the conferences. Like for example, the Coastal, and the Atlantic, they're getting rid of all that stuff. All right, but we're about to see, pretty much a bit of a rotational aspect. But we're also hearing rumors of conference realignment. Okay, the Miami Hurricanes have been rumored alongside with Florida State, alongside with North Carolina, alongside with Clemson, as well. And maybe Boston College has been thrown out there as well as possibly joining either the Big Ten or the SEC. People feel that Florida State might join the SEC and Miami is a good chance of joining the Big Ten. Okay, now at first when I heard this, it's like, oh my God, bro, this is crazy. Being the SEC will be, not that I don't mind the competition, but it'll be like a murderer's row, in terms of teams facing each other. But now I've come to embrace it. Number one, it's good for the program. All right. Let me tell you why it's good for the program, because it's slated that by 2030, which is 8 years from now, SEC teams are likely to receive a total of $117 million per school per year. All right. That's $117 million. A little before that, according to podcasts, that I've heard, according to what I've seen, I've read online and stuff like that. By within 5 or 6 years, we're looking at $100 million. The SEC could get no further than $50 million. That is money for facilities. That is money for more buildings. That is money for more teachers. That is money maybe for salary increases as well for teachers or bonuses, whatever the case would be, within the university itself. So it would be also renovations, parking lot, all that stuff. That would be a tremendous blessing, all right, for the school if they could get that kind of contract from being a part of the SEC. Why the SEC? The SEC is arguably the most profitable and the most powerful conference of college football. Okay, they've produced multiple national champions in regards to Alabama and now recently Georgia. Okay, Alabama has brought a lot of notoriety to the SEC. Okay, LSU has won national championships as well. under Nick Saban and also under Ed Orgeron when Joe Burrow had that great year. Okay. And then you have, of course, teams like Ole Miss and Auburn. They're just the classic teams. You have teams like Florida that bring a lot of eyeballs and so on. So the SEC is the most powerful conference. Another thing too, the ACC, as far as television revenues and contracts, sucks. Why? The ACC network is absolutely terrible. No one has it, right? I think YouTube TV, I think, has it. I don't know if Comcast has it. You may have to do a special order for it. It's very difficult to get games on the ACC network with regular standard cable and even some of the streaming sites. The first 2 games of the year are going to be on the ACC network. So I'll be very honest with you. I'll be watching the post game on YouTube. All right. So I'll be watching, the highlights and so on YouTube, because the fact is I don't have the ACC network. Okay. And it's terrible. It's a terrible TV deal. All right. They're not always on ESPN. All right. They're not always on ESPN. And that's a major deal. The SEC and the Big Ten, which is the other conference, are usually on ESPN. The SEC is on Fox. I'm sorry. The Big Ten is on Fox, which will be great for the Canes because they'll be on TV quite a bit. All right. But I'm going to go back to the I'll talk about the Big Ten in about a minute. The SEC is usually on ESPN all the time because of the fact the SEC brings ratings. SEC has its own network. And the SEC, let's not forget, is also on Paramount Plus and also on CBS. All right. Whenever Florida and Alabama, or they all play, they always end up on a Saturday on CBS and so on. Okay. So the Canes will constantly be on television. And you know what? This is good for recruiting. Alabama, LSU, and even Texas A&M is now scared to death of Miami. Why? Because Miami has always been a player. Let's not forget, all right? Al Golden posted top 10, top 15 classes every so often. Manny Diaz had a good class. I think the class of 2020 was pretty solid. 2021 was pretty solid for Manny Diaz. It was a top 12 class. Mark Richt one year had a top 6, top 8 class. All right. The Storm 18 class in some rankings was ranked 6, in some rankings was ranked 8. All right. So Miami has been able to be competitive against the major schools despite not being relevant in the championship picture because of the U on the side of the helmet. Right. That still brings a lot of respect, and it still brings a lot of eyeballs to the television stations. But the bottom line is, if Mario Cristobal is able to put the Canes in the championship picture, if Miami this year wins the Coastal, which I don't see why they wouldn't win the Coastal, all right, and they're able to win the ACC, all right, that is going to explode on recruiting. If Miami becomes an SEC school, I'm more rooting for the SEC than the Big Ten, becomes an SEC school, all right, you could sell that you're always on television, all right, you're gonna be playing Alabama, you're gonna be playing, which is scary. I know every so often, probably on rotation, you're playing Alabama, you'll be playing Florida. Finally, again, those Gators can't hide from us anymore. You're playing Florida again. You might be playing Georgia, so you'll constantly be on television. That's something that recruits will like to see because it's also good for the brand. And now that they're getting good NIL deals because of John Ruiz, signing a lot of these players, Miami is an attractive destination to make money, right? If you're a young 17, 18-year-old recruit, all right? So the sky's the limit for the Canes. So Miami also has had an issue with not getting guys in the NFL. They've gotten guys in the NFL, but in later rounds. Mike Harley, was I believe an undrafted free agent. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I know Charleston Rambo was. Charleston Rambo had a great year. He wasn't drafted. Okay, some of these guys are now signing as free agents. They're not getting drafted. Mario Cristobal has a history of having a top 10 pick the last couple of years. Kayvon Thibodeau, all right, was a stud pass rusher, and Justin Herbert. Okay, so Mario Cristobal's guys are going in the NFL. So more than likely, we're going to start to see the U become, a team that has players go top 10 in the draft again. May not be like the anomaly that was 2001 when literally half the NFL picked the Hurricane. All right, but it's going to be stable. It's going to be on a regular, and it's going to attract more recruits because they'll know they get paid. All right, once they get out of college football, they'll get paid when they're in college football. They'll get paid when they get out of college football, all right, as well, because of Miami's stature. So the Miami Hurricanes are in good position because they're recruiting well. They have the backing now of the university. The university's throwing millions upon millions of dollars for coaches, the coaching staff, and facilities as well to improve the program. All right. Thank you, Kirk Herbstreit, because your indictment of the university, I think, led to this. All right, as well. So the bottom line is that Miami is poised for prime time if they do make the jump to the SEC. All right. The Big Ten is not bad either. Revenue is very good in the Big Ten as well. Not only that, the Big Ten has a contract with Fox Sports. So they'll be on Fox. Okay. You'll be playing teams like maybe Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Those are all classic teams. All right. Those are all classic teams. All right. In general, that Miami could be on prime time all the time because they'll be playing these teams, and they'll probably end up beating here and there, a few teams here and there. So the sky's the limit for the Miami Hurricanes as well. So right now they're in the ACC. If the Canes do make the jump, they may have to pay a fine, or the ACC just doesn't do it. ACC rumored to bring in Notre Dame to kind of combat the floodgates opening, but the rumored teams are North Carolina, are Clemson, are Florida State, and Miami. Those are the teams, missing a team or two here or there, that are rumored to probably in the next couple of years jump ship to a much more powerful conference. All right. For my take, I prefer the SEC. Some people prefer the Big Ten. That's just me. I'm just talking. I'm not saying it's fact. They could stay in the ACC for another 10 years. I don't know. All right. But the bottom line is that these are rumors that are happening, but I do see the benefits of Miami jumping to a more competitive conference than just being dominating the ACC and being the Clemson, what Clemson was for years in the ACC. You know, it'll draw some revenue and so on. It'll draw some eyeballs, you know, make Miami a top 10 team, you know, in terms of recruiting. But if you really want to bring the big bucks to the university, if you really want to get guys to commit in general and put guys in the NFL at, you know, basically in the early rounds, not the later rounds, or in the undrafted positions and so on, that it might be, you have to get Miami in a conference like the SEC or the Big Ten. The SEC preferably, all right? I wouldn't mind seeing Florida again on the football field and whooping their butts all over again. All right, guys, that's it for me. Please hit the like and subscribe button, all right? Please hit the like and subscribe button as we want to grow this channel, all right, everybody? Once again, I am Will. All right, be safe and God bless. See you soon.